Brandon, we're doing this.
Max, what's going on? We are. What are we doing?
Midlife crisis and a YouTube burnout remedy.
Midlife crisis, that happened a while ago, so.
Add this to my set.
Oh, it's freaking huge.
There's like leaves all over my studio now. We'll Photoshop a digital one for you.
Maybe right here? Yeah, this is my spot for it, yeah.
Yeah, how's it going, dude?
You know, constantly making these watch videos, even though it doesn't seem like I am.
I feel like when I talk to my friends, they're like, how long does it take to make a video? Like 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, I'll feel like I'm done with the video, and then I'm still working on it again for another 4 to 5 hours.
I did one last night, and then I like uploaded it to YouTube. So I get a lot of feedback from people about the background music. You know, it's too loud. And so I had to just like re-export and upload and all that stuff. And I think like people don't realize how much work is left even after you make the video.
I've had that too. Some guy told me it's too loud, and then I said, I responded to him not thinking what he meant. I said, turn it down. That was it. And then I realized, then I listened to it over again. I was like, damn, it is kind of loud.
I don't know what we're yelling about.
I've had this happen in the comments where like one guy was like, "Oh, I hate the music you used," and another guy like was like, "I love his music," and then they like dueled it out in the comments.
Oh, I love the duels. I love watching those happen. It's pretty wild, but I enjoy the drama. I enjoy the drama a lot.
You know, it's the internet. That's what it's made for. Cat videos and drama. So I reached out to Brandon because I felt like, you know, your stuff is amazing. Like you came out of the gate just swinging. I remember like stumbling on one of your Grand Seiko videos, and I was like, at the same time, like really impressed, but also really intimidated.
We talked, and then you brought up the concept of possibly doing something together. And like, there's a lot of great guys and gals making YouTube videos, but I just can't connect with them for certain reasons. Or I can enjoy their content, but maybe not work with them. But when I saw like your content, I felt like it was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Like right when you brought it up, I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. What about you? How did you start the whole YouTube thing?
No, those early days, like you didn't even know what like dynamic range. You didn't really understand like contrast and all this stuff. You just kind of slapped it together. But then I think what has been, you know, a constant energy has just been like learning new things, right? You learn about new equipment, you learn about new like cinematic techniques and lighting and all this stuff, and it's like every video you're like, okay, like I'm gonna try this, or I'm gonna do this better next time.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was learning to diffuse light. Once I did that, everything changed. And I'm still learning a lot, but like you could see the quality shift from when I realized, oh, I'm supposed to diffuse this shit. Like it changed dramatically, and I was like, oh, this is like magic. That's how these people make these videos look so cool.
I thought it'd be interesting to talk about like your biggest mistakes, like along the road of watch collecting. There's like so many pitfalls. And so I'm always curious, like with people who have collected a while, what is the one thing you look back and you're like, ouch?
To be honest, none of them were that harsh for me because I'm a very slow buyer.
2, 9.
Yeah.
I guess my mistake early on, one of my biggest mistakes was everyone likes the Explorer 1, so I bought an Explorer 1.
You're going to offend a lot of Rolex lovers.
I know. I enjoyed it while I had it, but it didn't connect with me quite that much.
Didn't do it for you.
It didn't do it for me.
People talk about how sort of iconic it is, how it sort of has this perfect position between dressy and sporty. So like I'm curious, like what was it for you that it didn't quite connect?
I found myself following the crowd. And then I realized everyone has a damn Rolex Explorer 1. I also kind of discovered more Grand Seiko stuff at the time. And I was like, oh, this is for me. This is what I like. It just didn't hit like some other watches. And I realized, all right, it's time to move on from that. So What about you? What are your biggest mistakes for in watch
Oh
buying?
man, I feel like people are probably tired of hearing how much money I lost in watches. But I think one thing, like early on collecting vintage, I feel like is just such a minefield. So one watch that was in retrospect kind of a terrible buy was this called Chronograph Swiss.
That was the name of it, the brand.
That's the name of the brand is Chronograph Swiss.
Yeah, Chronograph Swiss. That's the most generic name. That's like Diver Swiss, GMT Swiss, Center Seconds Japan.
And I didn't do any research. I saw it. The price was right. I think it was like $400. Like chronographs from the first half of the century has that like really complicated dial with all the like concentric rings and all the numbers and stuff. Kind of like that new Omega.
Yeah, that new Speedmaster that came out, right?
The chronoscope. And so it was like very attractive. And so I just like impulse bought it. And then when I got it, the spring bars were like sloshing in the lugs. Like it felt like the watch was gonna pop off my wrist. Like it was making all kinds of terrible sounds. No! And so I took the strap off, and what I realized is, so these Chronograph Swiss watches back in like the early half of the century, they were like mass produced in Switzerland really for tourists. And they were made to like look really nice and expensive, and this one was gold. Like the lugs were not solid metal. The lugs were like a sheet of gold bent into a lug shape, right? And so the spring bar ends basically sit in this hole, and as they jiggle around, they wear that hole bigger and bigger. And so when I took it out, like it looked like a dime. Like it looked like these giant holes.
Put a picture frame up there on the wall.
Just do your research before you buy an old ass gold chronograph.
I never got into that whole. I love vintage, but because of what you just explained, it always made it hard for me to get into it. And then a lot of the vintage pieces that I wanted also cost a shit ton of money. But yeah, I think anybody that's going into vintage, it requires so much research.
Yeah, you can't impulse buy vintage watches like a modern watch. It's easy to like comparison shop prices. It's easy to find articles, up-to-date articles about them. But man, if you see a vintage watch you like start reading, sleep on it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Thanks guys for watching this. If you watched up until this point, it means that you fell asleep. Let us know in the comments what else you want us to discuss. We've got some topics in mind, and we'll be back.